Hello, everybody. I'm fully aware that I'm standing between you and lunch, so I'll make this as brief as possible. Wanted to talk a little bit about something that's starting to, at least for me, here at the summit, seems to be a theme that is surfacing across a lot of what we're talking about today. I'll be the first to tell you that Douglas County is new in this space. We just started on our journey of rethinking how a county can better serve our residents using our data. And it's kind of a new space for us. We started out wanting to find a better way to find or to connect citizens without subjecting them to, the different silos that we have within the county. And we knew that just another government portal wasn't going to cut it, because we have plenty of those. And we get the same amount of reception with those as what you could probably experience yourselves. So while we were going along with this, we still made sure that eliminating silos was still kind of the key point of our goal, of what we wanted to do. We wanted to create one place where somebody can come and get information and data and use that data. So that was where our starting point of our journey was at Douglas County. Now, when we started, the first question we felt we had to answer was, so how do we share our data? How do we get people to share data with us? We didn't really want to get into the business of owning data, but that was kind of where the path in the past where it led us, in which let's build this big database and let's put all this information in this database and let's maintain this database, and we just did not want any part of that. So open data for us was attractive because it was a share and share alike situation. We could share the information that we had. Others could share their information with us. And we felt that we could actually build a common platform by which we could all come together and break down those walls, those silos. Now, we were on our way, but I have to say that we still didn't get it yet. So while we were on this journey, we found ourselves confronted at every occasion, whenever we talk to people. And the question is what does open data do? What are you talking about? How is this going to help me? And our answer sounded a whole lot like what we had already had on offer. We have a treasurer site, we have an assessor site, we have a clerk and recorder site. It's all these things everywhere, and we already have that out there. What's open data supposed to be doing for me anyway? What made open data different? And as we started on this and started answering those questions, the answers started to become apparent, what open data was giving us and what it was going to be able to give our citizens. So kind of back up a little bit. Now, I know and we know as a county that there's a hunger for data, but it has to be in some sort of digestible form. It may not be by the people themselves, but they're using these apps. And those applications require data from somewhere. Where is that location? I was at CFA Oakland, and when I was talking with folks there, a theme really started to surface. And I wouldn't say that it was prevalent, but it was enough that I really kind of took notice of it. And a lot of them said to me, the reason why we're here and the reason we're able to do the things we can now do is because there's some law or some initiative that forced this information to become available to the public. And, this was really surprising to me because I knew, at least at our county, all of that data was already available, but it wasn't necessarily accessible. And I think that's the key difference. Because having that data now accessible allows people to actually use these apps and to start interacting with that information and be able to start telling their story. And the story is the key piece. So once we started building these scenarios, talking to people about, well, here's a scenario you can use your data in, it really started to click for people. Stories of how we could use this data to improve our lives, improve our citizens' lives. Things really started to connect. And the possibilities really started to open up for people at that time. They could see how this information could be put to use. It was no longer an abstracted data set. I'll give you an example. We were talking with our open space guys, and we were showing them, actually we were showing them the Socrata portal, And he looked at this and he says, you know, I've got an entire spreadsheet of all of the trails in Douglas County, Colorado. What if I were to put this information online with walkability ratings and make that available to the county residents? All of a sudden, we now have information that is now relevant and useful to our citizens that instead was in a spreadsheet before. We've made that spreadsheet relevant simply by telling that story and answering those questions. Now, stories to me, I'm a communications guy, so they're fundamental. They're how we relate to each other. They're not just a fundamental component of communication, they're also a fundamental component of human connection. This is how we connect with each other. It's how we've connected with each other for centuries. And we've got reams of data at our fingertips, but until we find a way to build a compelling context around that data, none of it is useful to us. Further, as we share these stories with each other, we start to build and strengthen that connection. You know, that sharing, that ability to tell your story and also hear the stories of others actually starts to build that connection, and that's community. And sharing data for us is just the first step. And as we start to have this conversation, this dialogue with the citizens of our county, we feel that we will be building that community more strongly. Now, as I've said, we're just getting started, but we're excited about where we're headed. And I'd like to share with you some of the things that we've learned in this very short time. The first one is that when you're considering the data that you want to make available to people, you should also consider the stories that you'd like to tell with that data. I think this is a theme that's also been reoccurring with others that have spoken here as well, is until we actually come up with a story for the data itself just kind of sat there. So in some of that, you'd ask those story questions, ask those what-if questions, get the folks that you work with to ask those what-if questions, and get the people that you live with to ask those what-if questions as well. That helps you guide your decisions and what type of data that you would make available. Invite, don't mandate. I know that I've talked to a lot of folks who said, well, because there was some law that made this information available, I now have to make it available. But how willing are you to actually make that data set usable if somebody has forced you to make it? At Douglas County, we're inviting individuals, departments, people who have data to share, but may not necessarily have made it available in the past, to share it. We're inviting them. This is what we're doing with this story. We would like you to be part of it. We make the invitation. We don't mandate it. We want to tell the county story, but we also want to invite others to tell their stories as well. And one of the nice things about open data is that it enables them to do so. We also, and this is something that we've learned very quickly, is that we have to carefully consider who our storytellers within the county are. These are the people, they're the data analysts, they're the ones who have been working in the jobs for years, they're the ones who know this data innately. They're our storytellers. They're the ones who are the first who are going to tell this story. And we need to make sure that they're involved. I sat down with our demographer, Nancy Gideon, and she told me that she used state of Colorado unemployment data. I'm like, great, you know, the state of Colorado has got a data portal up. Let's bring that up. And I brought up the tabular view. Had no idea where to start. And she laughed at me. She says, you don't know this data set. I do. And so she's the one that's actually going to be able to create that data lens and make it useful, make it intelligible for folks who don't know that data set, but they need to have the information to be able to tell that story. And then finally, find ways to involve your community. Listen to those what-if questions. The people that are coming to you and saying, I need more information on X. Find out what those questions are and use those to guide your decisions in building your open data. Thank you.